Food waste is a design problem. We need to design it and offer different ways for clients to be able to deal with that surplus and reduce their food waste. We need to collaborate to complement each other.
Yes.
This is not a competition. There is enough work around this, enough awareness to be raised. It's nobody's responsibility to pay you because you're doing something cool or good for the environment or the people or aligning with the government. You need to have your numbers. You need to be a businessman before anything else.
Really excited to have you here.
Likewise.
For everyone who doesn't know you, who are you and what are you building here in Dubai?
So my name is Hachem Mahmoud. I'm a founder and CEO of RBT Collective. And what we're building, I think we're building multiple things. Our main bread and butter is an infrastructure to help business reduce food waste and redistribute the surplus of food they have to the right beneficiaries and recipient, people who need it.
Nice. So then when did you start it?
So funny story, around the Corona time, when everybody was trying to think of their life choices and what are we doing, right? At the time I was doing architecture, that's my background. And I got a call from my brother at the time in San Francisco who built TreePlate, a tech platform that also work in food rescue and surplus management. And he said, RePlate got invited to Expo 2020.
Yeah.
Yes,
yeah, okay.
around that time, right? He's like, we have a project there. Are you interested to join me? And I was at a time where reconsidering my architecture and where I'm living. So I'm like, architecture, Dubai, it's a great time. I'll come.
Yeah.
And I did the 6-month Expo 2020.
Okay.
And we did a big food rescue program. We were the official partner for Expo. Cisco was our guarantor who helped this conversation start. And after 6 months of doing this work, I realized that this is something I care about and interested in, and decided to stick around and push the conversation of food rescue, surplus management, climate change, etc. Here in Dubai.
Amazing. When we spoke beforehand, you also mentioned that, I mean, in many countries, like food waste and the whole topic of redistributing food waste or expired food is mostly related to maybe charity work. But you mentioned to me that you specifically wanted to build a business around that. You want to share something around that?
Yes, of course. Yeah. So I think a lot of time when we talk about new businesses, there's a lot of buzz around tech and AI. And what we realize on the ground, it's always about awareness and learning. So people need to understand why this is important before engaging, before using tech, before etc. Right?
Yeah.
We started with working obviously with the food bank. At Expo, we learned a lot about the ecosystem and how things work.
Yeah.
And as you mentioned, a lot of people perceive food rescue as a charity that happens in a specific month occasionally.
Yeah.
And we realized this is not sustainable, not financially sustainable and not scalable.
Yeah.
Meaning if I only want to do a campaign around Ramadan time or I do a specific month or day, that's not something that is easy to scale and sustain, right? So we decided that how can we start working into creating a actual sustainable businesses out of it, right? And we realized that the food waste is not it's a system, it's a design problem. We need to design it and offer different ways for clients to be able to deal with that surplus and reduce their food waste. And that's how we offer different models to businesses to do the food rescue, and realize that we need to be able to monetize a little bit that surplus and package it in the right format to be able to pay for its operation and to be more sustainable and scalable.
True. And how does the Dubai or UAE government plays a role into that? Because as you said, like food waste or rescuing it is not a nice to have thing, but it's actually now a must have thing as part of the regulations.
Yes, it is. And it's the government is pushing a lot in multiple ways to entice and have more businesses engage in these practices. And I think one thing I think the audience could learn about is a lot of them don't know that food waste has a lot of environmental impact. A lot of time we think of it as food is being wasted and it could have been used to other people to use it, right? But a lot of time when the food end up in landfill, it breaks down and emits a methane, which is gas that is much more harmful than CO2 emission. And there's a lot of policies in UAE where there is the net zero by 2050, meaning we need to kind of balance how much we're emitting CO2 or bad gases versus how much is being balanced in the environment. In addition, there's a lot of food waste and loss strategies from the national food security strategy by 2051,
Yeah.
cutting food waste by 2030 by half. So a lot of entities and organizations are pushing for this and trying to create a system where how can we incentivize business
Yeah.
to engage. In America, for example, every business that engage with services like what we do here, they get tax cut
Okay.
at the end of the year.
Yeah.
So there is a reason, right? A tangible reason for them to do. So how can we translate this and work closely with government and do pilots and tests with different private sector to show these cases, to build business cases, to kind of bring this thinking and apply it here. But yeah, a lot of policies from the government, a lot of actions. Now today, it costs you multiple times how much it cost you a few years back for food waste services. So if you want a company to come and take your food waste, now it costs you multiple times. So trying to put pressure for businesses to and build awareness around that.
Great. So, I mean, what you're also saying is, okay, there are regulations, but there are also then companies like yours who's activating it.
Yes,
and making
and bridge
sure
the
that,
gap, right?
Yeah,
Like
between businesses, individual businesses, and what the UAE government actually wants to achieve.
Correct. So we see, like, I think that's where we start with Replate, which is a tech company, right, that help businesses manage their surplus more efficiently and track it. And then we realized, okay, well, we can do this, but we also need to collaborate more and to bring multiple values for the business because a lot of awareness is needed, right?
True.
So, I mean, I cannot sell a service before I build awareness and do some initiative and campaign for everybody to understand why this is important, right? So that's how kind of RBT was born, is to collaborate, is to focus on how can we help businesses reduce food waste and manage their surpluses while hopefully making money out of it.
Okay, great. And as I also understand, you're mainly focused on B2B, but not so much on B2C. So there's, for example, rescue boxes from restaurants where, like, I as a consumer could pick up some food waste, but this is not the scope. It's really about the business to business, right?
Correct. So, I mean, obviously, there's a lot of businesses, not just us, are working in this domain. There's a lot of work to be done.
Yes.
And that's why I think the collaboration and the name RBT, the company, comes from we need to collaborate to complement each other.
Yes.
This is not a competition. There is enough work around this, enough awareness to be raised, right?
Yes.
So some businesses obviously are helping restaurants and cafes to resell that surplus and safely in good prices. We focus more on businesses, meaning we try to create a system, not just solve the problem. But for example, I'll give you one example. So we work with Dubai Holding, where we have multiple smart fridges in their malls in a campaign called No Time to Waste. We got the best CSR from Dubai Holding last year for it.
Okay,
but in a nutshell, we place that smart fridge in a mall. End of the day, a hypermarket or a cafe can place their surplus safely, scan, put that meal, and then these meals are made accessible for the workers, people who are supporting the mall. So we don't even need pickups to happen.
Yeah,
kind of creating that circular economy, which also another strategies that the government is pushing to keep all that surplus in the systems.
Yes.
Not just food, but also plastics and other items.
So I know you are part of some of the government initiatives across the UAE. So maybe you want to share with us today, what are those initiatives and also how did they help you scale and grow your business and have that tremendous impact you already have and help you to grow even bigger?
Of course, yeah. So I would start probably with Expo, where we started our journey from Expo 2020. I think they have been a big supporter by allowing us and creating the environment to pilot, to test from Expo 2020 itself, to testing our smart fridges, to providing a pilot kitchen for us, to see how can we scale the work. So I'd say they're one of the big partners that we have. I think from a government and semi-government, we work very closely with Majra. Majra is the national UAE CSR fund. And they also support kind of, I would say, the third sector, meaning the social and environmental enterprises. Basically businesses that have a strong mission and vision around social and environmental impact. We have an MOU with them, we've won awards with them, and they've been pushing that conversation on a national level. Also, I would talk about NAMA, the National Food Waste and Loss Initiative, which is one of their big goals is to cut food waste by half in 2030, in a few years, which is very important. A lot of great, honestly, government and semi-government, they've been very supportive. They helped us enter new business, talk to the private sector, bridge many gaps, right? And allow us to do these pilots and test these new technologies and new services.
Great. And for, let's say, somebody who's now just getting started and has maybe a great idea in that same space, how did you get those connections into those government programs? Is it simply going to their website and apply and hope for the best, or are there other tips what you have maybe tried out?
I think every client and everybody is a little different, but I think if something in common is, I would say like you need to have a tested product or service, meaning like you need to show something when you go to the client, right? Now, obviously the first client is going to be the toughest, right? But I think with persistence and transparency and showing that you've done your homework, you'll get a chance. And I think when you get that chance, do it right, and that would be your kind of beacon or your like case study to take it to a next project. The first time we did the fridge concept, we worked with the food bank. They had few fridges. We said we can use them. You don't have to get new ones. So you need to get creative, and you need to speak the client language and kind of sometimes hold their hand and trying to put the whole idea in a way that makes sense to them. Right? Everybody needs to understand what the value proposition. I think being clear about what the value proposition for your client is very important.
True.
Right?
That is true. What I'm wondering, so as your business is highly aligned with the UAE strategy, was it a kind of a coincidence? Because let's say your brother's company, as you said, was kind of in that space, and then you realized, oh, there is actually synergies between what Dubai is doing? Or did you actively shaped your company vision around what Dubai or the UAE is trying to do?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I think the start was, I think the invitation, right? Like Replayed being invited to Expo, that was kind of like the starting for me to understand and get into this field. But I would say we've been rapidly pivoting and changing our business model. And all what this was shaped by the local government requirement, business awareness, and interest, and what's needed in the market. Like what's the value proposition that business need to engage with you, and how can you explain to them how important is your impact and your social and your environmental, like the CSR and the SDGs, right? The social development goals, how these ties to you, because every business have different targets and different language, right? So kind of understanding that and then tying these. If you go and say, I want to help you reduce food waste is one thing. But if you're going to say, I'm going to help you reduce food waste and I'm going to help you get it to the right beneficiary, and this will align with 1, 2, 3 policies and will help you with your marketing and will reduce your food cost into waste management. And you already have a budget for marketing. And then you start kind of connecting these dots, then the value proposition become attractive enough for business to engage. And say, okay, that makes sense. Let's try 3 months. Let's put that fridge. Let's pick up from here. We're happy to give you some of that surplus and see how can we create value? How can we bring more value to the whole chain of this?
So it's basically, I mean, of course, looking at your customer and your partners, but also, as you said, keep an eye on what are regulations, what is the UAE as a country generally interested on solving. I mean, they basically identified the problems we're solving. And how can your business contribute in a smart way and not just look at your business in isolation? And I think this is just a great example, like your company, and that's why I was really excited to have you here today to give us a glimpse of this.
I appreciate it. And I want to add a point about, like, I think what was special here and what excites me to stay and explore how can we push the kind of tech and conversation we're working in is we understood early on, and we've seen example of how the government really wants to support the private sector and hear them out. So these policies, we've been part of it. We've been to a lot of conferences, a lot of like workshops where the government was present, and they were hearing like we're having an issue because there is a cost here, or because the policy is not clear, or we need stronger policy first on this point, right? And they've been listening, and there've been a lot of like kind of changes and push in the conversation we do. Definitely it's not enough. We need more from everybody, right? Because the problem is big, and we need to come together to try to address this.
Wonderful. We would already come to the community question, surprise community question voted by the community on Instagram.
All right, hit me up.
You know, you can answer this from a business perspective, like you being the founder of the company, or privately. That's up to you.
Okay.
When was the time you were most proud of yourself?
Proud of myself. Sometimes like I feel I don't have time to think of that, you know,
Okay.
being somebody in business.
You have all the time now to think about it.
I think it need to be around not giving up, and I think always finding a way or a reason to convince myself that, but there is another way, right? Like
Yes.
they said no, but what if I frame it this way? What if I tackle this angle, right?
Yeah.
I'm proud that every time I do it, I grow with it, and it became a second nature for me.
Yeah.
And I'm proud to say that I don't easily take a no for an answer.
Wow. Amazing answer. Perfect for everyone
Yeah.
who's building, because you can probably also share a lot of times where things didn't work out the way you expected.
It's been really like, and I think people who work in the social environmental impact ecosystem world, I think there's a lot of, like, you would realize it's very hard because again, it's a lot of awareness. People need to understand why this is important.
Yes.
And at the end of the day, numbers speak louder.
Yeah.
It's a business.
Yes.
And I think it's very important for people entering in the social, environmental, mission-related businesses is that, yes, this is important, and but this is the cherry on the top.
Yes.
The cake is the business.
Yes.
It's a business that brings a value to the business you're working with. You are a business, you need to make money and survive.
Yeah.
It's nobody's responsibility to pay you because you're doing something cool,
Yeah.
or good for the environment or the people or aligning with the government.
Yes.
It helps. It could be a good starter to talk. It's important,
Yeah.
but it's not the cake. So you need to have your numbers. You need to be a businessman before anything else when you're building a business.
Wonderful. Great advice
Okay.
for everyone building, just
hope
getting
so.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you're the living example of it, right? So now that people got to know you and the projects you're working on a little better, where can people find out more about you as a person, as a founder, and also about the business?
Yeah, I think the usual channels, I would say, like our website, and but I would say our Instagram account, where we try to engage more some of the projects and pilots. So you get a real sense of what we're doing. And I would
Yeah.
say, like, just follow us on Instagram. On our website, you can reach out as well. There's the multiple forums. Our LinkedIn, me and my team. I always talk about Rabbit and connecting, but I
Yeah.
couldn't have done all this without my team. So definitely reach out
Big
to
shout out
us,
to them, yes.
as they can help you understand why this is important
Yes.
and engage your business with us.
Wonderful. So we will put all the links also below. And yeah, also kudos to your team. One of your team members actually reached out
Yes.
after seeing one previous episode, and that's why you're here today.
Yes, I mean, I wouldn't be here without Regina from my team,
Yes.
who's been on the lookout to reach out to opportunities to amplify our voice.
Yes,
Because if you don't know about us, how can you reach out to us?
exactly.
We've been trying to push more around this, so we appreciate this opportunity.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for joining, and I hope you know
Yeah.
that this is also just the starting point for many more opportunities
Yeah, I would
coming
love
up for you
to
guys.
keep following up and keep pushing this conversation in this great country.
Thank you so much. We close things here with a high five.
Yeah. Yes,
Good.
of course.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Wonderful.
you. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.